Hey y'all, it is January 2nd, 2023. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. I know I've been absent a couple months. I've been dealing with some lefts and rights from life these past few months. First, it started with severe rotator cuff and trapezius muscle pains. Pain meds, lidocaine, and massages have been my savior. Also, I had moving, which is always stressful. And then I unfortunately lost my dad. So I'm coping with my father's passing. Definitely been a long couple of months to say the least. But what can you do? Let's take one day at a time, though. Enough about my mentally and physically draining life. How is the weather treating everyone? We had a huge storm in the middle of December here in Vermont. We got 16 inches of snow where I am. We lost power and our phone connection. The last couple weeks, about half of the snow has melted away because of the 40-degree temps and all the rain we've had. Alright, so for today's episode, which is episode 8, titled Strange Missing Hiker Death in Colorado. This particular hiker that went missing and was eventually found deceased in a strange way is James McRogan, who was a doctor who recently had come from Wisconsin and came back to Indiana. He started working working in the emergency room at St. Joseph Regional Medical Center. James, or Jim as people he knew had called him, met up with 3 of his buddies at Vail, which is a mountain and in the center of a ski resort, in which they would go for a 9-mile hike to Eisman Hut, I think it's pronounced. They met at 8:30 a.m. on March 14th, 2014. The plan was to hike Eisman Hut, then to Camp Hale. Their starting off and to Eisman Hut was only 4 miles. The hike, though, itself was 9 miles. The terrain was steep and dangerous. Definitely not a hike for beginners. James had packed up many things, including his cell phone, sleeping bag, medical supplies, GPS, avalanche beacon, food, and water. 10 a.m. had come upon them, and they had about 5 miles to go until they had reached Eisman Hut. They decided to stop for a break. James wanted to continue hiking, so he did. His fellow hikers were going to catch up with him later. When the other hikers made it to Eisman Hut late in the afternoon on March 14th, and Jim was nowhere to be found, there was no signs of him making it. The Eisman Hut. When 5:30 p.m. rolled around, the other hikers had already alerted the Sheriff's Department and Department of Public Safety. An 18-square-mile rescue search started. They were not very concerned, as Jim was very experienced and had plenty of supplies to keep him going. His cell phone was pinged once that day, but could not be pinged again. When a cell phone is pinged, it means that the location of the cell phone has been located. For 3 days straight, the rescue team searched for Mr. McRogan on snowmobile, foot, and by helicopter. The 3 helicopters were provided by the National Guard. On the 4th day, with the choppers, March 18th, bad weather suspended the search. Searching for James lasted 5 days, but nothing was found. 1,000 hours were invested in the search for James McRogan. April 3rd, 2014, 25 days after the first initial search, James's body was found deceased. A group of skiers came upon him. James's body was found about 4.5 miles from the trail near Booth Falls. The skiers reported to authorities that they were skiing the Booth Falls and found a body in an ice fall. An ice fall is a frozen waterfall. James was found with no jacket, gloves, or boots. He had his helmet on. They found his backpack, which had his cell phone in it, and his snowboard was found nearby. There was cell phone service there, so he could have called. The snowboard that they found nearby did not have his boots in it, and his boots were never located. According to the autopsy of James McGrogan, the coroner determined that the cause of death was of multiple things, which included head trauma, broken femur, and damage to the side of his chest. His death was ruled an accident. So how did James supposedly leave the trail, go on top of the fall where the snow was deep, and he fell without his jacket, gloves, and boots on? The searchers couldn't find boot or footprints in the snow when they were looking for him. Did James really fall to his death, or did something else go down? What are your thoughts? Personally, I don't think James McGrogan got lost. I don't think he got hypothermia or got disoriented. But for shits and giggles, let's say that he did. But he had, he had a cell phone. He had it right in his backpack, and there was service where he was. He could have called out and gotten help. I don't really think. I don't think it was an accident. I think something, yes, not someone. I think something got a hold of him. The whole thing of James disappearing just seems fishy to me. The police, government, and coroner are not going to tell us the truth on what did or is happening out there, whether it be in the woods or in the streets. I think us as people need to not be so naive of what the real world is about. There are things we cannot explain out there. It's a scary ass world we live in. Always have your head on a swivel. Try to be in a group wherever you're going, whether it's in the woods or in the mountains, and let people know where you are going, your estimated time that you're going to be gone, and where and when you will be back. So what are your thoughts on what happened to James McGrogan? I'd be interested to hear them in the comments below. That's it for today's episode. Thank you for listening and being a part of my channel. I really appreciate you guys. I wish nothing but happiness and success to everyone. See you on the next episode. Have a good one.